You're paying rent you don't have to. Right now, at this exact moment, there are Americans living in this country paying absolutely nothing in rent. No landlord, no lease, no monthly payment due on the first. And I'm not talking about people gaming the system illegally. I'm not talking about squatting in someone's basement. I'm talking about real people, retirees, remote workers, people on fixed incomes, who found legitimate ways to remove housing costs from their lives entirely. Here's the number that should make you stop and think. In 2026, the average American household spends $1,987 a month on rent. That's $23,844 a year. Over a 20-year retirement, that's nearly $500,000. Gone. Not invested. Not saved. Just paid to a landlord. But scattered across this country, in small towns, structured communities, and overlooked corners of the map, thousands of people have quietly figured out how to make that number disappear. In this video, we're going to show you exactly how they do it. 7 real, legal ways people live rent-free with zero income in America in 2026. Real places, real numbers, real trade-offs. Stay until the end, because the last one on this list is the most powerful example of rent-free living that has ever existed in America. And if you've ever felt like rent is slowly stealing your retirement, hit that like button right now, because this one is for you. Number 1. Forgotten small towns, where housing costs collapsed naturally. Let's start with the most accessible option on this list. Across the American Midwest and Great Plains, in states like Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and the Dakotas, there are hundreds of small towns where the housing market behaved very differently from the rest of America. Factories closed, young people moved to cities, and these towns were left with something unusual: more houses than people. When supply far exceeds demand, prices don't just drop. Sometimes they fall to almost nothing. Here are real numbers from 2026. In rural Nebraska, you can find homes listed for under $30,000. In parts of Kansas and Iowa, monthly rents for full houses sit between $300 and $500. In some towns, properties have sold for just $1. Not a typo. $1. Because the town needs a living, breathing resident more than it needs rental income. For retirees on Social Security, the average monthly benefit in 2026 is $1,907. In a major city, that barely covers rent. In these small Midwestern towns, that same check covers housing, food, utilities, and still leaves money left over. The trade-off is real, though. The nearest hospital might be 45 minutes away. Winters are long and quiet. Job opportunities are limited. But for someone who works remotely or is already retired, those trade-offs shrink considerably. The math is simple. When housing costs $300 a month instead of $2,000, you don't need more income. You need a different address. Number 2. Cash incentive towns. Places that pay you to move there. Now, what if a town didn't just offer cheap housing, but actually paid you to show up? This is real, and it's happening right now in 2026. Across America, dozens of towns and states are running relocation incentive programs because they're facing the same problem as those forgotten Midwest towns. Too many empty houses, too few residents. Here are actual programs running in 2026. Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Tulsa Remote Program offers $10,000 cash plus additional perks to remote workers who relocate there. Harmony, Minnesota, offers housing assistance and community incentives for families and retirees willing to put down roots. West Virginia has run programs offering up to $20,000 in cash to attract remote workers to its mountain communities. Northwest Arkansas offered $10,000 plus a free bike to remote workers relocating to the region. The pattern is consistent. These towns need stable, long-term residents, not tourists, not investors, and they're willing to put real money on the table to get them. For someone on a fixed income, a $10,000 relocation grant combined with $400 monthly housing is a complete financial reset. You arrive with a check. You move into affordable housing. and your monthly expenses become manageable on almost any income level. The catch? Most programs require you to work remotely or commit to staying for a set period. But for retirees and remote workers, that's often not a catch at all. That's just called living somewhere. Number 3. Work trade communities, where labor replaces rent. This next category surprises people because it's been quietly working across America for decades. Work trade housing arrangements. The concept is straightforward. Instead of paying rent in dollars, you contribute labor, maintenance, farming, caregiving, teaching, administration, and in return, housing is covered. This isn't theoretical. Here are real, active examples in 2026. WWOF, which stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms, operates across hundreds of locations in the United States. Participants contribute farm labor, typically 4 to 6 hours a day, in exchange for housing and meals. Zero rent, zero grocery bills. Work camper programs allow RV owners to work part-time at campgrounds, national parks, or resorts, typically 20 hours a week, in exchange for a free campsite with full hookups. That's housing and utilities covered. HelpX and Worldpackers list thousands of similar arrangements across farms, eco-communities, and small businesses nationwide. For retirees who are physically active, or for anyone who wants to trade a few hours of meaningful work for complete housing security, these programs are genuinely life-changing. The real trade-off here isn't the labor. It's the lifestyle shift. You're not in a city apartment anymore. You're embedded in a community, a farm, or a park. For many people, that turns out to be exactly what they were looking for. Number 4. Off-grid communities, where bills don't exist. Let's talk about a category that's growing fast in 2026. Off-grid living communities. These are intentional settlements, legal, established, and increasingly popular, where residents have deliberately removed themselves from the utility grid. No electric bill, no gas bill, no water bill, and in many cases, no rent. Here's what the numbers look like in reality. The average American household spends $429 a month on utilities in 2026. That's over $5,000 a year just to keep the lights on and the water running. Off-grid communities eliminate that number through solar energy, rainwater collection, well systems, wood heating, and passive solar design. A basic solar setup costs between $3,000 and $8,000 up front, but produces zero monthly electricity costs for 25 or more years. When you combine free housing through community ownership or self-built structures with zero utility bills, your monthly living costs can drop to a few $100s for food and basic supplies. On Social Security alone, that's genuinely comfortable. Examples of established off-grid communities in 2026 include areas in rural Tennessee, the mountains of North Carolina, and the high desert of New Mexico, where land costs are low and off-grid living is both legal and well-supported. Number 5. Income-sharing communities, where everything is covered. This is where things get genuinely fascinating, because there are communities in America where it's not just rent that disappears. It's every major expense. Income-sharing communities. The model works like this. All income generated by the community through businesses, farms, or outside work goes into a shared pool. That pool covers housing, food, utilities, healthcare basics, and transportation for every member. Individual residents contribute labor, not money, and in return, they live with near zero personal monthly expenses. The most established example is Twin Oaks Community in Virginia, operating continuously since 1967. Over 55 years, through recessions, inflation spikes, and housing crises, Twin Oaks residents have paid zero rent, zero grocery bills, and zero utility costs. Members work approximately 42 hours per week across farming, manufacturing, cooking, childcare, and administration. The community runs profitable businesses, including tofu production and hammock manufacturing, that generate enough income to sustain everyone's needs. In 2026, when the average American needs roughly $50,000 a year to cover basic living costs. Twin Oaks members live on personal spending money of around $100 a month, because everything else is already handled. This model isn't passive. It requires genuine commitment and shared governance. But for people who are tired of the financial treadmill, it offers something most Americans have never experienced: complete freedom from housing insecurity. Number 6. RV and nomadic living, where your home has no address. For a growing number of Americans in 2026, the solution to rent isn't finding cheaper housing. It's making housing mobile. Full-time RV living has exploded in popularity, and the financial logic behind it is hard to argue with. Here are the real numbers. The average used RV in 2026 can be purchased for $15,000 to $40,000. Once purchased, there is no monthly rent. Free and low-cost camping options across America include BLM Land, which stands for Bureau of Land Management, allowing free camping for up to 14 days per location across 245 million acres of public land in the western United States. Harvest hosts a membership program at $99 per year, gives access to free overnight stays at wineries, farms, and breweries nationwide. Thousand Trails and similar campground networks offer annual memberships that provide unlimited stays across hundreds of locations for under $500 a year. For retirees with Social Security income, a paid-off RV combined with these free camping resources means housing costs can drop to under $100 a month. The trade-off is the lifestyle. There's no permanent address. Repairs happen on the road. Healthcare logistics require planning. But for an adventurous retiree, this isn't a sacrifice. It's the retirement they actually wanted. Number 7. Intentional eco-villages, the most sustainable model. Our final option is the one that's growing fastest in 2026, and the one most carefully designed for long-term affordability. Intentional eco-villages. These are legally structured communities, not communes, not experiments, built specifically around removing the financial pressure of housing permanently. The key mechanism is community land trust ownership. The land is owned collectively, with legal protections that prevent speculation, investor buyouts, and price inflation. That single structural decision changes everything downstream. Ert Haven Eco Village in North Carolina, operating for over 30 years in the Blue Ridge Mountains, has maintained housing costs that remain dramatically lower than surrounding areas. Solar power, shared water systems, and cooperative food production keep monthly living costs closer to a grocery bill than a rent check. Dancing Rabbit Eco Village in Missouri, founded in 1999, uses similar community land trust principles combined with sustainable building and cooperative resource sharing. Many residents live on annual incomes that will be impossible anywhere else in America. What makes eco-villages different from everything else on this list is that they're designed to last. They're not dependent on one employer staying open. They're not vulnerable to investor buyouts. They're not affected by rising market rents. Because the profit motive has been structurally removed from the housing equation, prices don't rise with the market. They stay stable for decades. For retirees and people on fixed incomes, that stability is worth more than almost any other financial asset. So, what do all 7 of these options share? They all start with the same question. Not, how do I afford rent? But, what if rent was never required in the first place? Some of these options require commitment. Some require a lifestyle shift. Some require moving somewhere new. But every single one of them is legal, real, and working for real people right now in 2026. Here's what I want you to take away. Rent is not a law of nature. It's a system, and systems have exits. The question is, are you ready to look for yours? Drop a comment below. Which of these 7 options surprised you the most? And which one could you actually see yourself doing? If this video made you think differently about housing, retirement, and financial freedom, hit like and subscribe. Because next time, we're covering specific towns across America where your Social Security check alone covers everything: housing, food, utilities, and more. You don't want to miss that one. See you there.